men. So when you use white European men specifically as the standard, the default, and then apply a statistical measure that was developed centering white men, and then apply that to populations around the world, specifically ignoring bone densities of different populations, fat distribution of different populations, the muscle mass of different populations, that actively causes harm because it's not taking other societies into account. And that is literally what white privilege is, by the way, within the sciences, within medicine. Whiteness being taken as the standard, and then creating these global colonial and imperial knowledge systems where whiteness is the standard, and then it makes it seem as if white people's bodies are the default universal human body, when that is not the case.
So you're saying there's white privilege not just in America but all around the world?
100%.
Okay.
Global basis, even on the even in countries where white people are not the majority, yes, they benefit from white privilege on a global scale.
Yeah. The only reason I had been speaking about America, of course, is because I'm in the United States, but I would be remiss, and I'm so glad that Athena brought this up, and it's absolutely something that we see throughout the entire globe, even though white people are not the majority throughout the entire globe. The conformance around whiteness is something that is global. So there's that. One other thing I want to call out really quickly. So this is super interesting. I'm glad I looked this up. The original study was done by Harvard in 2003. And if you're interested, so it's called The Brain Shows Unconscious Prejudices. And it talks about like the neural scans that were completed and, in white people versus black people and what they see and, objects and stuff like that. But then it was followed up with a study that was completed in 2009 by the NIH, the National Institute of Health. And they talked about the neural correlations of race and how those things connect. But also last year, there was a great a study that was a continuation that was completed by Columbia University in September of 2025 called Racial Stereotypes Can Make Us See Weapons Where They're Not. And it talks about the way that the brain registers race and then also danger and fear and all this other stuff. And so all of these things are connected as far as when I talk about the way that not only the society see non-white people, but the way that white people and their brain unconsciously sees everything and everyone else that isn't white. So those are a couple of things that are connected as well, Eric.
So for that study, is that just something that it's just inside of them, or is that something that they learn?
As far as the studies or their biases, you know what an actual bias is, or unconscious bias?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're unconscious biases. It's the way that society has geared the school of thought, and also how it's continued to perpetuate and uphold certain things that shift people in that direction. So, yeah.
So if there's white privilege, what do you think could be done then about that?
Well, I mean, as far as what can be done, this is going to be the thing that I say about most things. And when it comes to privilege, because white privilege isn't the only privilege that exists in society, but if you ever talk about how do you address those issues with privilege that have the privilege? And see, that's why I started with hey, what's your race? There's nothing that you can do to dismantle white privilege.
Racism is what is creating white privilege. The only reason white people have white privilege is because other groups of people are being disenfranchised. To get rid of racism, and if you want to get rid of racism, you have to dismantle whiteness, because without racism, whiteness ceases to exist, and without whiteness, racism ceases to exist.
So it all starts with racism?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So, do you think there's always going to be, let's say the white people do something about it? Do you think there is still going to be racism in the world?
Well, when I'm talking about racism, specifically oppression based on race, that is upheld by white people, right? That's upheld by like, yes, other people can participate in being tools of racism, but ultimately the people, the institutions that are upholding racism are the ones that uphold whiteness, okay, on a global scale, stage. But dismantling racism does not mean that other forms of oppression would be automatically dismantled, because there is oppression based on gender. There's oppression based on if you're able-bodied or if you're a person with disabilities. There are all other forms of oppression as well that are intertwined, yes. But tackling racism would largely get rid of the racial disparities, basically, because we're talking specifically about racism.
Yeah.
And yes,
And
racism would get, sorry, yeah.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Racism would get dismantled if we dismantle whiteness, yes.
And that's why I said, like, there's many forms of privilege that exist, and the only way to deal with those privileges is by having the people who have said privileges lead the charge against them. Like, that's the only way that it can happen.
Okay. So, I do kind of agree on you with the fact that maybe, we shouldn't use white as like a permanently, like, the base on how to for example, BMI, like, it shouldn't be just white. Maybe we should apply it to some other people. But what about in opportunities? You said that whites have more
White
opportunities
people,
than
not
other races.
whites.
White people have more
White people.
opportunities than other races. Why is that? I
Mm,
don't believe that. I think everybody has the same opportunity.
okay. The reason why I say that is because society has been geared towards whiteness, as Athena just stated. But the actual construct, and I like to talk about the United States of America, but Athena has the global perspective, and we can always talk about that as well. But you take a look at throughout the history of our country, and when you look at the establishment of the United States of America, the United States of America Constitution, when it was first written, the only people that had rights were white men that own land, right? And so from that point, everyone else has been given rights. And with those rights that have been given, they weren't just freely given. Like, they're literally rights that people had to fight and die for. Like, black people had to fight and die to be considered like people here within the United States. And even more so, just to not only be declared as people, but then to have, rights as people. Women had to fight and die for the right to vote. Like, there's been so many other things throughout the our society where people weren't just like given equal opportunities. And when you look at how things actually exist today, you can take a look at the disparities when it comes to, like, the wealth gap, home ownership. Do you know what redlining is?
Redlining. Vaguely.
Okay. Redlining is a practice. I'm going to give like a super high level overview of it, but basically it's a practice of ensuring that bank loans and opportunities aren't given to non-white people to keep areas segregated in certain ways, and it's literally just like racist practice based off of ensuring that certain areas don't change demographics, right? And one way that you see this persist is, like, let's say there are two people that come into a bank to get a home loan, right? And the people have the exact same qualifications. They have the same credit score, same background, history, deposit, like all the things stack up side by side, right? And the way that redlining persists is that just because you're white, you're given the home loan versus the black person, not because there's any more qualifications, not because there's anything that differs, but just because you're white. And that's something that has persisted throughout the history of our country. If you had to guess, when would you say the last time a major bank was successfully sued for redlining?
I'd say definitely like the late 1900s.
Okay. No. 2024, 2025, banks like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Navy Federal Credit Union, all of these banks engaged in redlining and were successfully sued for redlining. This is something that is not, far distant history. This is something that we literally deal with today, and it's a constant battle that we continue to actually to go uphill in battle, right? So it's something that it's perpetuated through opportunities. You could talk about like within finance, you can talk about within education. Hell, you can keep it super simple and talk about like how white people have a better chance of just life when it comes to childbirth. And Athena, I'll pass this one to you because you explain the infant mortality rates like far better than I ever could. But like even when it comes to childbirth, coming out of the womb, white people have more of an advantage than black people.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So the black newborns are up to 3 times more likely to die during childbirth than white newborns. And that number statistically decreases by 32 to 59%, I think, when a black doctor takes over. Whereas for a white newborn, their mortality rate is not dependent on the race of the doctor. So regardless of if it's a black doctor or a white doctor, their mortality rate does not really change. But when it comes to a black newborn, their mortality rate changes depending on who the doctor is. I did want to ask you one question though, Eric. When you say equal opportunity, do you mean legally equal or do you mean materially equal?
Legally, because I do know what he's saying. Like, I did want to ask, like, so is it the inequality just because of the late start that people had, that, white people just had everything in the beginning and, other races just didn't? Is that the inequality?
I'll follow up with you and answer any questions later, but please finish engaging specifically with what Athena's saying. I want her to be able to finish that.
Yeah. So if 2 people have equal legal rights, but one grows up with better schools, safer neighborhoods, and inherited wealth, is their opportunity really the same?
Say that again.
If 2 people have equal legal rights, but one grows up with better schools, safer neighborhoods, and inherited wealth, is their opportunity really the same?
No, if you say it like that, no.
Okay. So then we can acknowledge that legal equality and material equality is not the same, because even if the law technically, quote unquote, on its surface level, can pretend as if people are formally equal, legal equality doesn't automatically produce equal opportunity, though, if wealth, schools, and networks are unequal.
But everybody can have the same chance to go to a good school.
No, not true.
How's that?
If a person doesn't have, let's say, are you telling me that, let's say, do you think being born into a wealthy family and a poor family offers the same opportunities?
No.
Okay, so then you already conceded there's an inequality of opportunity. But
that's not based on race. That's just based on.
It is actually. It's very racialized. Because historically, I'll tell you, historically,
a wealthy black person can have
Can you let Athena finish her sentence before you hop in and try to whatever? Sorry, go ahead, Athena.
No problem. So when we look at even just generally like the median outcome, the median white household wealth is multiple times higher than the median black household wealth. And wealth affects neighborhood quality. It affects school funding. It affects ability to even pay for college. It affects down payments on homes. It affects access to capital for business. It affects ability to weather emergencies, right? So if 2 children are being born with dramatically unequal inherited wealth, they do not begin with equal opportunity. And when we come and Santana just talked about Citigroup, right? He just talked about how that banking group themselves talked about how they discriminated against Black Americans when it came to loan allocation, which ultimately led to the like American economy losing $16 trillion in 2 decades, right? So when you're talking about wealth gaps, which are very much measurable and they're historically traceable because of redlining, because of employment discrimination, housing discrimination, loan allocation discrimination, exclusion from the GI Bill, yes, it becomes very, very racialized, which is precisely why median white household wealth is multiple times higher than median black household wealth. Do you disagree with that?
No.
Okay. So when people are when wealth or people are disproportionately represented in poverty, and it's specifically people who are not white, specifically people who are, let's say, black or indigenous or people of color, then even when you talk about classism or when you talk about unequal outcomes when it comes to wealth, then that becomes racialized. Because the reason as to why certain communities are disproportionately poor or disproportionately have a lower medium household wealth is because of racism.
Okay. I will agree, especially with the bank thing. Like there are gonna be times where there is gonna be racism. You know, if a black person goes into the bank and they don't get approved because they're black, that's just a racism thing. But that's just not a whole thing on the whole.
Like that's literally not an individual thing. Like there's multiple studies and history and track work. Like this isn't like a one-off or an individual thing. Like the reason why I cited these major banks is because it's happening at the highest level. There's other banks like mid-sized and small banks that engage in the exact same thing. It's just the bigger banks are, of course, noticeable, and we can call those out. So sitting here and say, oh, like, oh, it's an individual thing. That's not even the case, and even more so, like Athena just pointed to the entire study that was completed by Citibank Group, as far as the country overall losing out on 16 trillion with the T, $16 trillion due to racism. Right. So like this isn't an individual thing, and this is just one sector. I mean, we're only talking about the financial sector. You see these same type of things exist within the healthcare. You see these same type of things exist within like education. Like it persists in multiple areas, and it's not like one-offs. Like literally, you look at the way that our society is constructed and how like access to advancement, health, or just living standards quite often depend on just your race.
Yeah, and also like when we look at lending data, like according to the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, black applicants are denied conventional home loans at significantly higher rates than white applicants. And this disparity even persists after controlling for income, right? Which means higher income black applicants still face higher denial rates than lower income white applicants. And this doesn't only apply to mortgage loans. When you look at business loans as well, black owned businesses are more likely to be denied loans. And when they're approved, they often receive smaller amounts, and they're also more likely to receive higher interest or less favorable terms. When we look at auto loans and interest rates as well, black borrowers are more likely to receive higher interest rates than similarly situated white borrowers. And this is, by the way, has been documented across the board. So my question is there any aspect in society where black people don't fare worse than white people?
Where black people don't fare worse.
In any aspect of society, anything that impacts any black people.
Black people could do. They can do anything.
No, that's not what I asked. I said, is there any aspect within society where black people don't fare off worse than white people?
No.
Okay.
Where would that be?
So if black people consistently in every single aspect of society on a global scale fare off worse than white people, why are we pretending that that is situational or a coincidence and not a pattern or a structure that is creating these disparities?
I would say maybe, I mean, it just all goes back to there is just going to be blatant racism. I would like to ask though,
Wait, it's not about blatant racism though. You're making it seem as if it's as if it's individual. That's the issue that I have. Because if it's individual, it would be situational, which means there would be some instances where white people get it. There'd be some instances where black people get a higher, like a leg up. Some instances where white people are disadvantaged. That would be what you're saying. If there's just individual racist white people, or just racism just happens to exist without a pattern, then the disparities would have been situational and not consistent. But I'm telling you right now, Eric, consistently in every single field on a global scale, black people fare off worse than white people. And that actually debunks your argument of it being situational.
That's what I'm saying. The pattern is that it is just racism towards black people.
Yes. So if it's racism towards black people that is producing these racial disparities on a global scale in every aspect of life, then it's not individual but systemic.
Is the opportunities for what about other races? What about other races? Is it just majority that black people are getting attacked, or is it other races?
I don't exactly know where you're trying to go with this, and I don't want to like put a focus on other races. I mean, the emphasis is on white privilege, and we're talking about like the effects of white privilege. But even more so, I would like for you to actually like substantiate anything. So far it's been like a ton of questions, and you haven't given anything that's like based in facts around why you don't think white privilege exists. It's just been, black people can do anything, and are there any examples or whatever? Can you give me anything of substance that would actually validate your premise that like white privilege doesn't exist?
Well, I want to start off with like, I'm also trying to just learn. I don't know if that's okay. Like, that's why I'm asking a lot of questions.
Yeah,
that's why I say I think
like,
sometimes no, because I want to like learn more so I can say like, oh, I know.
I get that, but also like what I absolutely need in order for us to like really be able to make this fruitful is not just have it being just a complete learning experience, because if it's a complete learning experience, then you learn from the comments, but you have to be able to like substantiate your belief and ground it in reality based off of some level of facts in order for us to like properly challenge it. And so if you don't have anything that we can properly challenge based off of facts, then it is just like completely, you don't know these things and we're teaching you. That's why even when I started off and I said, what's your race, and you couldn't properly articulate what your race was, like I said that this was going to be a little bit tough. And so like, while I do appreciate you being inquisitive and like even the back and forth, I do want to make sure that we are actually dealing with, someone who can add more substance versus just like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Okay,
that's the only
fair.
thing that I'm saying.
Just a bit more then. The reason why I asked about other races is because if there is white privilege, do you think it affects all the races or just one race?
White privilege is based off of white people, and so anyone that does not have access to white privilege is disenfranchised in some way, shape, or form or the other. That boils down to like the patriarchy and where people fall within the different intersects. And white men sit at the very top of that pyramid, and then everyone else is ranked below within society based off of the patriarchal system. So depending on how far you are from, being a white man depends on how far you are disenfranchised.
Okay, and how close in proximity you are to blackness means you are then more disenfranchised, because when race was being created, that hierarchy, whiteness and blackness exist in relation to one another. So whiteness is everything blackness isn't, blackness is everything whiteness isn't, right? So if whiteness is on top of the hierarchy, blackness is at the bottom of the hierarchy, every other race is in between. And then depending on your close proximity to whiteness, you get advantage. Depending on your proximity to blackness, you get disadvantaged.
Okay. Okay, so I will definitely learn more about this. I did want to ask though, is what's behind you all the things we could talk about, or could we talk about something else? Because I know that you have a different opinion than me on something else.
What's that something else you want to talk
On
about?
immigration.
What
I
about
feel like I could talk
immigration?
about immigration more, but if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine.
What about immigration?
Like I see that you say that we should abolish ICE, right? I don't think that. Like we're opposite point of view. Like,
Tell me what you think.
see, I think that while I do agree that maybe the efforts that ICE is in right now, the condition that ICE is in right now, maybe it's not the best. We should fight for ICE to have better, better conditions right now. They shouldn't have be breaking into homes like how they're doing right now, without a warrant. But we do need ICE as a whole. We do need immigration. We do need to be able to have no illegal immigrants coming into our country.
Okay, undocumented immigrants. So what's your justification for like not having undocumented immigrants in the country, or even more so, what's your justification for like mass deportation?
It was touch and go, but I found it back to it's just a I want to make sure that everybody who comes here is just going to support America no matter what. Now, I know that there are Americans that may not like America. They don't support it and do it. But in the end, if something were to go down, they would just have to fight for America. Being American citizens, they would have to fight for America no matter what. Rather than an immigrant coming here, they have no loyalty to America. They could. So I would say there are some immigrants that want to make a difference. They do come here that they want to make a difference. But unfortunately, we just don't know that. Because maybe they say they want to come here for a difference, and then we have to fight for America, and then they would just go back to wherever country there is, because they're not willing to fight for America. They're just willing to take the opportunities of America.
So you think we need ICE to have mass deportation because of some hypothetical war where America would have to be defended, and the people that are here wouldn't defend America, they would actually leave America?
Definitely not mass deportation to say, but if they do have someone that is undocumented, they should send them back.
If there was a war and it came to defending America, I would leave.
Why would you leave?
Because why the fuck am I gonna fight for this country and other countries when the country doesn't fight for me?
So
Like,
you're
like
saying
literally, this country has overwhelmingly harmed black people. Why would I need to stand up and fight for this country when the country is literally killing black and brown people on a daily basis? What type of allegiance and loyalty should I have to this country? Why? Because I was born here, I have to have this utmost allegiance and loyalty. This goes into like the American exceptionalism. You guys are weird when you think that just because like we are in America that we have to be like super patriotic and all this. Our country should make us proud to be American, and our country does not make me proud to be an American. And so I am not proud to be an American, and I wouldn't fight to be an American because our country is literally killing us. Not just like actually killing us in the streets, but they're poisoning us as far as like the way that our healthcare system is set up. Our food is deregulated. They literally don't care about American citizens. They are taking away job opportunities. They're overwhelmingly giving tax benefits to the ultra wealthy. Like there's nothing that's occurring in this country right now that says that American cares about their citizens. You can take a look at where we fall. You can take a look at where we fall on the happiness index overall and all the key indicators that actually lends itself to being like a happy nation, a happy civilization. The United States of America doesn't invest in those things. They don't invest in like education. They don't invest in like the family unit. The people on the right scream that we need like a nuclear family and we need more kids and all this other stuff, but they don't actually support kids. They don't care about like free food for kids. They don't care about their education. Hell, they don't even care that they get shot in school. So you sitting here saying like that undocumented immigrants, they don't have skin in the game and they would leave if there's a fucking war. Like I would too, because this country doesn't care about us. The country only cares about what we can do for the country. Like that's a fucking issue.
But you would fight for everything that you believe in, though, right? Like
I would
not
fight
like
for the people next to me. I wouldn't fight for this country.
No, exactly.
I would fight for Athena, and she's not American.
No, exactly. So like I'm saying, like you, all these things that you believe in, like you would go out and protest against, like, you want to basically change America, make America better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So would you say that why is it that you're fighting in America specifically? Like you want to make America better.
It's because this is where I live. This is literally my home.
So if,
It's not because I feel some undying loyalty to this country. It's just because this is where I lived. If I lived in another country, I would still feel the same way, depending on how the country treated me as a person, how the country treated my ancestors, the people that I love and care about. So it's not about the individual country. It's about the treatment of the country towards the people. And I care more about people than I do care about the country.
So like Santana and like Black Americans or Indigenous Americans or whatever it is, or people who are not white, fighting to better their society, and to remove the racial disparities that impact and harm their communities, is not analogous with participating in a war that America wages, because more than not, a war that America is going to wage or engage in, America is probably going to be on the wrong side, right? And if it's on the wrong side and Black and brown people are participating in that and being used as cannon fodder by an imperialist government that is going around waging wars in order to exploit resources from other countries and destabilize them, that is completely different than BIPOC people trying to better the situation within their community for their within their society. So two different things. They're not analogous at all.
um, back, okay. Like you said you would leave if you, but do you really have that option? Like, let's say you get drafted, like, do we really have that option to just leave the country?
I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. Like literally, I mean, you can see throughout the history of the country, and especially when you talk about Black people. Black people have always been defiant when it comes to like conforming to what this country demands that we are and what we do. And even like when you talk about one of our greatest champions, one of the greatest fighters of all time, Muhammad Ali, right? Muhammad Ali was stripped of his heavyweight championship and like thrown in jail because he wouldn't go fight a war in Vietnam, right? Like that's the history of Black people within this country. Like we would rather like die for what we believe in than to like stand for nothing. So like I'm sorry, your premise that just because you live in this country you should have some type of unwavering loyalty. The country needs to be better. Like the U.S. needs to treat people better, and maybe we would be willing to defend it at all costs. Like the United States claims to be this shining city on the hill, and like there's nothing that the United States does that benefits their people more than like other countries. Can you name one thing that the United States leads in that's a positive outside of GDP and the military?
It's freedom.
Other countries have freedom too, by the way.
Yeah, but
And
it's
all
freedom,
other countries
freedom
have
with
more
diversity.
freedom.
Like
Other
there
countries
are
have
there
more
and
freedom.
there are countries as well
Other
as that.
countries have more freedom. Literally today in our country, women have less rights than they had 10 years ago. So help me with that again.
Exactly. I'm talking about modern, like today, America. The
I'm
past
talking
is
about
gonna be the
today.
past.
Literally today, women have less rights than they did 10 years ago.
Less rights that they did 10 years ago.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm writing this down. Okay. But either ways, like you said, like I'm saying, like they're like I said from the very beginning.
Don't just say like I said. Like address what I just said. The fact that you said freedom, and I'm telling you that freedom is not. The United States doesn't lead. No, the United States isn't number one in freedom. And even when you talk about like the rights of the people, women have less rights today than they did 10 years ago. Address that.
I couldn't really address the women's rights because I didn't know or think that the women lost more rights than they had 10 years ago. What was
Roe
the
v.
one before
Wade.
that you said? So I could talk about that one.
Roe v. Wade was overturned. So
Well,
abortion rights.
I do believe that they shouldn't.
I don't care
I
what
don't
you
believe
think
in
about
abortion.
abortion.
Okay,
I
so
genuinely
she
don't
brought
give.
Roe v. Wade up.
No, she's telling you what those rights were. Like, she's literally giving you the answer because you don't know. No one wanted your opinion about abortion because, like, I'm positive you can't fuck with the actual, like, real premise of abortion. So, like, I don't even want to talk about abortion. But, like, she's spot on.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, if they take away the right for an abortion, like, so not everybody has like 100% rights. Like, we can't just do whatever
Okay,
we
so then
want.
not top right. Oh, when you're saying freedom, by the way, what kind of freedom are you referring to? Are you talking about freedom of speech, economic mobility? Are you talking about
Yeah,
political
freedom.
rights, personal autonomy? What type of like freedom are you talking about?
Yeah, literally all of that. Literally, we can do anything, almost anything we want, as long
That's
as,
not true, though. Economic mobility. America has one of the worst economic like upward mobilities, like than other countries, right? When you talk about political rights, what are you talking about? Freedom of speech, fine. People hate speech laws are not so good. That means racist
We
people can
don't.
say racist-ish, right?
I was just about to say, we don't even truly have freedom of speech either, because the current administration has been stripping citizenship and deporting people who are exercising in their freedom of speech, while also saying that people engaging in their freedom of speech, i.e. burning the flag, should be thrown in jail for 1 year, and signing an executive order to try to bypass the actual legal standing to be able to burn the American flag as a freedom of speech. Like, literally, the current administration is infringing on everyday Americans' ability to exercise their freedom of speech. And then they're even, like, the people on the right are justifying like people getting killed while exercising their freedom of speech because they're not protesting the right way. Like, literally, what you're saying makes no fucking sense.
But also, when we're talking about voting rights, you have ID laws that actively disproportionately target certain communities, Black communities, and Indigenous communities, especially when we talk about democratic participation. You have gerrymandering also that targets specific communities. When you talk about economic freedom and starting businesses, I gave you the data with regards to how Black businesses are less likely to receive loans, even when they fare better than white businesses. When you're talking about social freedoms, healthcare access, that within itself doesn't exist because, again, Black people have a higher maternal mortality rate. They have a higher infant mortality rate, are less likely to be diagnosed accurately, less likely to receive pain medication, don't have equal access to healthcare. When it comes from freedom from harm, right? When we talk about violence, Black people are disproportionately subjected to police brutality and all other forms of systemic violence. When it talks about incarceration, Black people are disproportionately wrongfully incarcerated. Black men are about like 12 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted or for unaliving somebody, especially if the victim is white. Black people are disproportionately targeted when it comes to substance convictions. The national exoneration rates already show this, that Black people are disproportionately targeted within the judicial system as well. So what freedoms are you talking about? Because when it comes to civil liberties, right? When it comes to civil liberties and political rights, so many other countries fare off better than like the US. So please delve
well,
into what you mean by freedom.
we are, that's the thing. We are free to change all the things you just said. Like, yes, there is going to be a lot of disparity, but we also have we are able to fight to change things that are not right in America that not a lot of countries have too.
How
And
do we
if
have
there are
the right?
countries
Wait, how do we have the right to change those things?
like
Help me
we
understand
go
that.
out and protest, we go out and fight, just like
And
how
what happens when we protest?
if we protest peacefully, then we can make a change. Like,
So
is that
what
not how they did it?
determines what? Who gives you the determination as far as how you have to protest? Like, why does it have to be quote unquote peaceful?
Because why? So are we going to do unpeaceful? Is it supposed to be unpeaceful protest? Like, because we're not.
Name me one protest that has overwhelmingly been successful, that hasn't encompassed some form of violence.
Wasn't the Montgomery bus boycott helpful?
There was violence in the bus boycott. Black people literally got beaten and killed for trying to boycott not riding the bus.
Yeah, and they were peaceful. They were peaceful, right?
I literally just told you the violence that occurred.
No, I'm saying, yeah, violence occurred to them, but black people were peaceful, though, right?
What does it matter if black people were peaceful if there was still violence perpetuated on them?
I was
What
just
does that matter?
because
Like,
look,
literally,
I was
hold
gonna
on,
say
hold on,
yes.
stop. Think about this for a second. Think about this for a second. You're saying that the black people didn't engage in any type of violence. They just showed up and said, we're not going to take these buses. We're not going to do this. And they were still beat and killed. And you think that's okay?
No, if you would have let me finish, I would have been like, okay, so since they were peaceful and those things did happen to him, that is bad. Those police officers or whoever did violence against them were in the wrong because all that they were trying to do is
Who cares about them being in the wrong?
No, I'm talking about the police or whoever did violence.
Who cares about them being in the wrong? Your point of them being in the wrong, no one gives a shit about them being in the wrong. Like, I'm sitting here telling you that, like, an actual change that occurs from protest, there will be some form of violence, one way, shape, or the other. I'm not advocating for violence, but I'm saying there will be violence, and there's no one that can sit here and say you should or should not protest this way, because without the understanding that there will be some form of violence when it comes to protest, if you're not willing to engage with that, then you're not willing to actually have any type of real change.
But also, Santana, non-violent does not mean not disruptive, because
Exactly.
the boycott was very, very disruptive, right? When we look at the bus system, it lost a lot of significant revenue. The city itself experienced a lot of economic strain, and downtown businesses were also impacted, right? So there was an economic pressure that was implemented by this, right? So you could argue, quote unquote, it was peaceful in the sense that the people who were engaging in it were not violent, but it was still a very, very disruptive protest because it intentionally actively hurt bus companies financially, right? So people were not passive. People were not, it wasn't non-coercive. It wasn't just people like, okay, well, can we like live, laugh, love our way out of oppression, please? Like, can you please give us rights? That's not how it happened, right? So it was very disruptive.
And the point that I want to make sure that I explain, and this is why I said violence in one way, shape, or another, like economic stoppage or blockage or pressure, like that's economic violence, right? You have to be willing to suffer and cause suffrage to other people economically in order to do that as well.
Yeah,
because when you talk about like stopping revenue from going in and out, you're stopping people from literally being able to eat. And you have to be willing to inflict that violence on other people to get that change. So you can talk about like one of the most successful boycotts that we've had here recently in the US, in which that was the overwhelming boycott of Target, right? But there was violence that was perpetuated towards others, in a sense that like people lost their jobs. People couldn't feed their families. Like other businesses suffered because of like the actual boycott of Target. Like there is violence in one shape, form, or the other, and there's no one that can sit here and say, well, the way that you should protest is stand on the side of the road and have your picket signs and say, we shall overcome. No one cares about that. Like literally no one cares about that. And you sitting here saying that you should or shouldn't like protest this way or that way, it's fucking silly. It's just silly.
I wouldn't say that the economical like effect is not peaceful. Like, yes, they protested and they stopped the revenue. That's just what happens with protesting. Like, I'm not saying that them stopping the revenue is, not, I'm not trying to do a double negative, like not peaceful. That is just what happens when you protest. And that's actually one of the ways that peaceful protesting can help. They stop the economical drive, and then now they have to, the people in charge have to, look at what's happening and, fix that.
It wasn't peaceful though. MLK literally had his house bombed. What are you talking about? Like, there were so many black leaders who had their homes actively bombed. So it's like, for you to say it's peaceful is just, it is pacifying and sugarcoating the history, which by the way, like a lot of times people tend to look at the civil rights movement and they make it seem as if it was just peaceful, kumbaya, my lord, everybody's just going around, you know what I mean? Just like playing on their guitar and everybody is peaceful and nothing is everything okay. They were just holding each other's hands and peacefully. That's not how it happened. You think it happened that way because the status quo that you live in. Thank you for the gift, by the way. The status quo that you live in is actively trying to brainwash you into thinking you have to be. What's that word? You have to be passive. Exactly. You have to be passive. You have to be okay with subjugation. That is what you're being convinced of. So they take what actually happened during the civil rights movement and they completely whitewash it. Mm-hmm. It is a rewriting of history. Complacent. Exactly, Sonia. Thank you. They make you think that you have to be complacent and you have to be passive and docile.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, I'm gonna read you something really quick, and then I'm gonna say a couple of thank yous. I want you to take a moment to think about what this means, right? So I want you to take this in, and I want you to like digest this. This is from one of my favorite poems, and it's like a specific part of the poem. Right? So, are you listening?
Yes.
Okay. Because when their teeth stop showing and their stomach starts growling and their hearts start flowing, if you're from the hood, I know you feel me. If the streets start leaning and the heart stops working and my stomach starts hurting, I'm gonna rob me a person. That's from the famous poet Freeway, right? So I want you to think about that for half a second and tell me what you think that means. I'm gonna say a couple of thank yous and I'm gonna come back, okay? W's in the chat for Valkyrie. What up, Valkyrie, for the $10 donation, saying you and your lovely family deserve to enjoy the victory parade. Take care, my friend. Yes, we are. We're going to see the Seahawks. We're going to see the Seahawks. W's in the chat for Valkyrie. Thank you so much. W's in the chat for Heather for the $5 donation, saying daily hugs. Daily hugs. Thank you, Heather. I can't watch today, but there's a spirit. I can't watch today, but I'm in the spirit. Have a beautiful day. Thank you. You as well. Thank you. W's in the chat for Harry for the $2 donation, saying people confuse indoctrination with patriotism. Boom. Been told your whole lives that we're the best country without being shown. Exactly. W's in the chat for Jared for the $1 donation, saying millions more people will lose their ability to vote if the SAVE Act passes. Yes. And specifically women. Like, women will be like overwhelmingly disenfranchised as well, but also it's going to hurt Republicans. Like, that's the catch-22. That's why so many Republicans are now backing away from it, even though Trump is still supporting it. Like, the SAVE Act is really going to harm Republicans. W's in the chat for Allison for the $1 donation, saying, could you ask for a Cabe lookalike? I don't know who Caleb is. I'm Allison. I'm not sure who Caleb is, or the lookalike. Sorry. W's in the chat for Shannon for the $50 donation, saying black homeowners have to white stage when selling. That's absolutely true. Absolutely fucking true. W's in the chat for Dustin for the $20 donation. And Dustin, it says that you sent a personalized note, but I'm looking at the email and not the app. So I'll go in and take a look at that personalized note in just a moment and see exactly what it says. W's in chat for all the gifters, guys. If anyone else would like to support the live, you can do so. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, pay links in the link tree in the bio. Santana speaks for you. If you're over on YouTube, you can send a super chat and I will read that out. Guys, hey, keep tapping the screen. Let's get the likes up to 200,000 likes. Also, if you take a look up at the top and you see the word follow, that means you're not following me. Hit that follow button. We are driving towards 100,000 followers on the main account. So make sure you hit that follow button right there. Boom, 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 boom. Hit that follow button. Also, we got Covey up here hanging out with us, guys. Please show her some love. Please, please, please show Covey some love while she's hanging out up here with us. Let's immediately, actually, she's almost at 2,000 coins. Can we get her over 3,000 coins? Please, please, please. 1.4 4,000 of us hanging out here. Can we please immediately get her over 3,000 coins? Show Kobe some love, give her a follow, and also hit those pay links. All right, Eric, what do you think that famous poet Freeway was talking about?
I really didn't understand it. I was hoping you would tell me the deeper meaning.
Yeah. Well, whenever you get an actual opportunity, you should go look up it's actually put to a song, and the song is called What We Do, right? And it features other poets, like one poet is a guy named Beanie Siegel, and there's probably another poet that you've heard of as well, and it's was actually produced by a great producer by the name of Just Blaze, right? Anyway, what that says is like, when people start hurting, when people truly start hurting, especially black people, when people start hurting and they are continuing to be oppressed and disenfranchised and overwhelmingly harmed, they will fight back. They will stand up. They will take what they need. And so you can sit here and pretend that like there can be any type of real change by being passive or docile. But when you're being oppressed and people that are looking to oppress you continue to give you less and less and less, someday when someone's stomach starts touching, they're going to rob them a person.
Well, you cut out for me, but I didn't hear everything. I just cut out in the middle. I'm so sorry.
I'm just saying what Athena said, as far as like you thinking that people holding hands and singing is going to make a real change is not anything that's actually going to happen. So,
but do you also think that we should like be able to riot then?
Yes.
You think we should be able to riot?
Yes, if needed. Yes.
Okay. So all these rights are ICE rights. You believe in them?
Wait, do you think that you shouldn't be able to riot if needed?
I don't think you should get in the way of law enforcement.
So you believe in
also being being observant?
Subservient.
Subservient. What's subservient?
You believe in being dominated by authority.
I think that we should listen to the laws that we have.
Do you think all laws are just?
No, there could always be unjust laws.
What do you think about those unjust laws? Do you think you should obey those unjust laws?
I think we should fight the unjust laws.
How do you fight unjust laws?
By getting people together, telling them what's right and what's wrong, and then getting people to fight for it, protesting.
Right. What is fight? What does that mean? What does that look like?
Just always disrupt economical.
What does that look
like just like how back then disrupt the economical flow, hurt the government in some way where it's like
so
not physically.
What if the government actually starts to hurt us physically?
I mean, yeah, that's why we have that's why. Well, if we're really not doing anything at all, then yeah, we have to fight.
What if the government starts to hurt us physically? Then what do you do?
What example would that be? Like, what's happening?
Murdering us.
For what? Like just being ourselves?
Protesting.
Okay, so you see, that's wrong. You see, that's why. I'm
not saying right or wrong. I'm saying, what do you do in that situation?
Then we would, if they're blatantly just killing us, like if someone's just sitting down, supposedly protesting, and then they
directly. I don't need you to like create a hypothetical around it. I just need to answer. I need you to answer the question. What do you do if the government is killing American citizens while protesting?
You have to fight back by. There's going to be different answers on how to fight back because not everybody wants to be violent.
What do you do, Eric?
I would, start. I never been that far, but I would protect myself.
If if American government is killing people for protesting, would you riot?
Would I riot? If they really did it, no, I would get myself out of that situation. I personally would get myself out of that situation.
That was bad. I'm not gonna lie, that was really bad.
One of the things that like authoritarians and dictators and like fascists count on is people choosing comfort over freedom. They literally depend on people being willing to live on their knees because of the threat of death. And Eric, if you're still listening, I hope one day that you live to die on your feet than live on your knees. I really hope you do. I don't know.
Also, like the country that he supports, so he's like a patriot, right? Like an American patriot. He said he feels like some kind of loyalty to America. The country that he supports was literally birthed through colonists rejecting British law. Like when we look at colonists rejecting like the Tea Act or the Sugar Act or whatever other parts of the law, that the specific laws that they viewed as unjust, they rejected those laws. And I'm pretty sure that wasn't peaceful either. So
Yeah. I don't know. Like I say this all the time. Like I'm not sitting here advocating for violence, but I'm also not unaware that I don't understand like violence can and will occur even if I don't bring it to my doorstep. You know, like I think that's like you have to be you have to have your head in the clouds if you think that like you can just make change and make things happen and there'll never be any form of violence, because when you try to shake up a system, either it's going to take violence to shake up that system or violence will be forced upon you for trying to change something that like the system doesn't want changed. So like none of that makes sense to me, Athena.
But yeah, I won't take up space, by the way. I'll just go back to the chat. So
Wait. Before you do, guys, I said, can we get Athena above 3,000 coins? Please, we're at 2.43. There's like 1.3 thousand of us hanging out here. Can we please get Athena over 3K before she drops down? Please and thank you. Please and thank you. Please take care of Athena. Black people labor isn't free, and especially black woman labor isn't free. So please show her some love. Please show her some love. Also, give her a follow and hit her pay links. I know for a fact that Athena, for some weird reason, loves hummus. And so if you want to like shoot her some, it's weird. If you want to shoot her like a PayPal and send her something so she can buy some hummus.
Hummus is the okay.
It's
Listen,
gross.
do not get me started. Why would you do that,
The end of your sentence is gross. Hummus is
Why
gross.
would you do that, Santana? Hummus is delicious, okay? Has a lot of protein, has a lot of delicious... Listen, at this point, Santana is xenophobic. That's why he has an issue with hummus.
Whoa.
That's why he has an issue with hummus, okay? Because he's xenophobic. But oh my God, thank you for the gifts. I appreciate y'all. Hummus is delicious, especially hummus and pasta. It's unbelievably delicious. Trust me, try it. But I appreciate you, Santana. Thank you very much for the gifts.
Thank you for coming up. I really appreciate you. Debbie's in the chat for Brittany. Brittany sent a $5 donation saying, I'll never be able to fight. Huge coward here, but I'm going to do all I can to support those who can fight in my place. Brittany, first and foremost, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I like appreciate that to the moon and back. But even more, fighting doesn't always have to be physical. That's something that I need each and every person to hear me and understand. Fighting does not always mean that you actually have to be on the front lines fighting. Whatever thing you can do to support fighting fascism is what you do. And if that looks like supporting those people that are on the front lines, whether you're allocating some of your resource, your energy, your time, Like it comes in so many different forms. So just because you can't actually go out and physically be the ones fighting does not mean that you aren't adding to the fight. So always keep those in mind. Always keep those things in mind. W's in chat for Marie for the $3.34 donation saying, unfortunately, I was born with oppositional deficient disorder. I know how to act grown, but I can be feral. Holy shit. I viscerally cannot understand being submissive. If there's injustice or oppression, you don't just say, thank you, sir. Can I have another? Exactly. They're so fucking weird. All they do is scream, oppress me more, daddy. Like, what the fuck are we doing? W's in the chat. Guys, again, if anyone else would like to support the live, you can do so. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, pay links in the link tree in the bio. Santana speaks for you. Defiant, yes. Defiant, yes, sorry. Everything is accepted. Anything's appreciated. If you're over on YouTube, you can send a super chat. I will read that out. Only request up if you are a Trump supporter or disagree with anything on the background. We are only looking for some debates. Only request up if you're a Trump supporter or disagree with anything on the background. We are only looking for some debates, guys. America's sick. America's sick because of white privilege, American exceptionalism. It's because the right is violent. It's because the left eats their own. And it's because of the patriarchal system. So if you disagree with any of those things, get in the box. We're only looking for some debates. Pablo, hi, how are you?
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, so America's sick.
So are you a Trump supporter or disagree with anything on the background?
Well, I disagree with white privilege, bro.
Okay, perfect. Let's start here. I'm definitely going to allow you to tell me why you disagree with the fact that white privilege is part of why America's sick. But can you tell me before we go too far, what's your race?
My race? Hispanic.
Hispanic is not a race.
Well, I mean, Hispanic, multiracial, I guess.
Hispanic, multiracial is not a race. There's 5 categories as far as race, and like you can find them on the census.
Yeah, so I'm indigenous, Asian, and a little bit of
what do you phenotypically
Middle Eastern as? What do I phenotypically represent as?
What do you phenotypically present as? Meaning, like, if someone were to like not know you and kind of see you from a distance, would they say, hey, that's a white man. Hey, that's a black man. Hey, that's an indigenous man. Hey, that's an Asian man. What would they say
so
they saw you?
They would say that's a Mexican man, but they would, no, again, that's not a race.
I'm not exactly. So,
but they would assume, they would assume it's like a mix of indigenous and something else.
They wouldn't assume that. They would say one of the other things.
That's an indigenous person. They'd probably say that.
Okay, so you're indigenous.
Mostly-ish.
Serious question for you before we go too far, right? And like you're literally the second person that I'm talking to that's doing this. Do you think that you are really about to be able to articulate a proper case as far as like why white privilege doesn't exist or why it's not harmful when you can't even properly identify your race?
So you say identify your race, but I give you like, I'm indigenous and a mix of different other things. So like, I mean, I'm mixed.
A mix isn't a thing. Again,
no, but I'm mixed.
Cool. When you like fill out the census or like whatever, what do you put on your census knowing the like the 5 racial categories? What do you check in the census?
I check other for the most part.
Others not on the census. See, okay. All right, cool. I'm just letting you know right now, you're already starting behind. Like I don't think that you're able to properly articulate this, but I'm going to give you a chance. Tell me what's your premise? Why do you think either white privilege doesn't exist or it's not harmful to America?
So, I mean, if it existed, it would be harmful. But, I think privilege via class does exist, right? But for example, like a white redneck in the middle, working a job in Walmart, I don't think like the dude has any privilege. Like,
What you're talking about is class reductionism, and there's a difference between classism and racism. You can talk about like people being disenfranchised due to economic status, but when you add the layer of race with the economic status, the person is more disenfranchised due to race and how racism works. Again, I don't think that you can properly articulate this because, again, even from the jump, you couldn't identify what your race is.
So I'm mixed. I'm not going to say I'm a particular race.
It's not a race.
because
It's
I'm not
literally
going
not
to.
a race.
So,
Either you're being willfully obtuse or
no,
you
no,
just
no.
don't
Because
know.
like,
And again, if you don't
so
know, then you're not
for
qualified for this
example,
conversation.
if you're, just let me say something. If your mom is black and your dad is white, what are you? White or
You're
black? And you're gonna be like,
biracial, but depending on how you phenotypically present,
regardless of how you phenotypically present, you're already 50% of something and
that's how
50% of the
race.
other.
That's how race is actually structured. It's based off of acceptable phenotypical characteristics. Like there's literally, you can't say baiting of regardless of that. Like literally, that's what race is based off of. Like that's how it was created. Do you know who created race? You're muted. You're muted. I didn't mute you. I don't know what's happening, but I'll jump in for a second. W's in the chat for Marie for the $1.11 donation saying, I don't fight physically because I'll lose and I'm not stupid. There are so many creative ways to move in the shadows. Let's spite fuel. Let's spite fuel you. It's less reckless than anger. Whenever you're good at whatever you're good at, there's a way to use that for a cause. I absolutely agree with that. W's in chat for Marie and W's in chat for Amanda for the $5 donation saying every revolution needs medics, witness, caregivers, mediators. Just because the folks in the front line are the most recognizable does not mean that they're the only ones standing in defiance of tyranny. Exactly. W's in the chat for Amanda. Thank you so much for that $5 donation. Again, guys, if anyone else would like to support the live, you can do so. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. If you are over on YouTube, you can send a super chat and I will read that out. Keep tapping the screen. Let's get the likes up to 200,000 likes. Also, guys, can we knock out the high bears? That's the daily gift goal. The high bears. Can we knock those out? And guys, please, please, please hit that follow button. We are driving to 100,000 followers. And it looks like on this stream, we've only gotten 80 new followers. I know out of 1.5 thousand people watching right now, and we've been live for almost 2 hours. I know for a fact that there's more than 80 people that don't follow me. Hit that follow button, turn on notifications. Even if you don't like me, you can hate watch. Even if you think I got a punchable face, you can hit that follow button and still follow me. Pablo.
What's up, buddy?
I was saying that you can't say aside from phenotypical characteristics because that's how race was created. Do you know who created race?
So, again, does race matter?
Yes.
To you, but
no,
should it matter?
To society.
Should it matter?
Can you answer the question?
If you wanted to limit,
yes, can you answer the question?
Can I answer what question?
Who created race?
I don't know, some white guy.
That is accurate. Some white guy did create race. You know why they created race?
But I mean, like, you know.
Do you know why they created race?
To separate people, probably. Like,
race was created by Gomez de Zurara in justification of chattel slavery. They literally needed to get justification from the Catholic Church in order to subjugate black people and utilize them as a free, cheap labor force. And it's tied into capitalism. The first capital traded on the New York Stock Exchange in the United States of America was black people. And that persists to today as far as how systems continue to disenfranchise black people. We've already had the conversation around redlining and how black people are harmed due to racial practices within the financial system. But black and non-white people are overwhelmingly harmed and disenfranchised in multiple ways. We could talk about education. We could talk about like healthcare, all of these things. But even today, black non-white people are overwhelmingly harmed due to the fact of them. Can I finish my sentence, bub? Holy smokes! Off the app right now. I don't know if you got a phone call or you accidentally swiped out, or okay, he's gone. I'm starting to kind of regret this topic. Not gonna hold you. Kind of starting to regret this topic because this feels like a lot of emotional labor for people who don't understand things.